Namaste. Yoga. What do we understand yoga as? A lot of us understand it as a practice that we do on a mat, maybe certain exercises, maybe certain breathing techniques. But let me take you way back when it originated, say about 5,000 years back. The word yoga comes from the root word yuj, which means to unite or to join. What does it intend to join? The individual consciousness with a universal consciousness. Why? Because we are conditioned ever since we are little, and that limits us. We are built upon an identity that limits us because we think that we are this body, we think that we are the mind, and we think that we are the emotion. Now what yoga intends to do is break these veils or lift these veils up for you to realize who you truly are, which is limitless possibility. But I know that sounds a bit far-fetched, but there are steps to that, and these steps are mentioned in the first text of yoga that was compiled by Patanjali, called the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. It's a very beautiful text, about 196 sutras, and Patanjali defines yoga as CHITTA, VRITTI, NIRODHA, the cessations of the modifications of the mind. It doesn't mean you stop it, it means you just get a sense of detachment because your identity has expanded beyond your thoughts, your emotions and your body. That you go through life as a normal human being, but you don't suffer anymore because your identity has expanded beyond these limited identifications that you have been brought up with. So saying that, Patanjali has also mentioned many ways, but one of them is called the ASHTANGA Yoga. Ashtha means 8, Anga means limbs. So I'll briefly tell you the 8 tenets and then we'll elaborate on one of them. And you'll also see that these 8 tenets, they go from gross to subtle, from the external to the internal. So you start with the social, the external, the yam. Yamas are social observances, how one behaves in society. There are 5 of them. AHIMSA, non-violence. SATYA, the truth. ASTEYA, not stealing. BRAHMACHARYA, which is sensual abstinence. And APARIGRAHA, which is non-covetedness. Then you have the niyam, which is more of personal observances. So after you have mastered the social, then you go into the personal, which also has 5 tenets, sub-tenets under it, which is Satya, the truth, Asteya, not stealing, Tapas, austerity, Svadhyaya, self-study, ISVARA PRANIDHANA, which is complete surrender to the universe or God or whatever name you call that force that is bigger than us. So it's just a surrender. Then the third step is asana. Asana, as we know it today, are the postures. Then it was defined as sthira sukham asana. So a steady yet comfortable posture was defined as asana. After steady comfortable posture, you go into the pranayam. Prana is the life force and ayam is the expansion. Loosely, I'm just very loosely telling you this. So once you sit steady, then you're able to allow the subtle force to expand. If you're constantly distracted and in movement, there's a lot of depletion of prana. You're never able to allow it to expand from within. So there's a depletion, you usually feel tired, but when you understand real pranayam, you'll never be depleted of this force. Pranayam, then pratyahara, which is sense withdrawal. Our senses take a lot of energy because anything, like if there's a sound there, I'm going to look there, and my mind goes there, my energy goes there, and I lose the energy. But pratyahara is a state where all the senses are withdrawn. So I'm aware of all the sounds around me. I'm aware of the smell of the space. I'm aware of the sensation on my body. And I'm aware of the taste on my tongue. And I'm aware of everything, but nothing is distracting me. All my senses are fully open. It's not partial and in one direction. I'm completely aware of what's going on around me. So that is a state of pratyahara where the senses are withdrawn. Then you have dharan, because now the senses can't distract you anymore. It's easy to concentrate. So then after pratyahara you have concentration. After concentration, once your mind is able to focus on one point, then you have dhyan, which is loosely translated as meditation, which is a consistent flow of concentration towards the object of concentration, subject, object, and there's a consistent flow of concentration without any breakage. In the previous step, dharan, there may be breakages because you may get distracted. But in dhyan, there is a persistent, continuous flow of concentration, undisturbed, unbroken, and that is meditation. Now once this flow gets so steady and so persistent, then you reach the 8th step, which is samadhi. Samadhi also translated as yoga, which is a complete union. There is no difference between the subject and the object. Anyway, let's keep the whole explanation. It's a very interesting subject. Let's keep it for another day. And let's briefly elaborate on one of the tenets, which is tapas. It comes under the niyams, the personal observances. Tapas, translated as austerity. Now, earlier days, austerity, people used to put their bodies through a lot of torture, their bodies, their mind, their emotional state, because there weren't problems like we have now. So they used to lie down on a bed of nails, or walk on hot charcoal, or stand on one leg in the freezing cold without any clothes for years and years together. But these days we don't really require that, because there are enough problems to challenge our body, our mind and our emotion. And that we should look as tapas, where we don't run away from a problem, but we stay with it, knowing that as a human being we have the power to deal with it. Whether it's a physical problem, whether it's a mental challenge, whether it's an emotional challenge. So this in brief is tapas. So every one of these tenets can go very deep, and the Yoga Sutras is more to do with the mind and the expansion of consciousness through transcending our limited identity. In brief, that is yoga. So I end this here today. Hari Om Tat Sat.